Argentina won again, suffered again, and once again showed that in a World Cup, there are no comfortable matches once the ball starts to burn. The defending world champion defeated Cape Verde 3-2 in the round of 32. But the result, even though it gave Argentina a ticket to the next round, is not enough to explain everything that happened on the field. Because this was not a formality. It was not a night in which Argentina ran over its opponent with absolute authority. It was a tense, emotional, shifting match, the kind that at one moment seems under control and minutes later turns into a true battle for survival. Argentina came out with the natural obligation of a contender, with the weight of its history, with the jersey of the reigning champion, with Lionel Messi as its guiding light, and with a structure used to playing in the highest pressure stages. But on the other side was a Cape Verde national team that refused to play the role of a secondary guest. From the very first minute, the African side understood that it had nothing to lose and so much to gain. Cape Verde did not hide. It did not simply wait near its own box or resign itself to letting Argentina have the ball for the entire match. At times, yes, it defended deep, because Argentina's hierarchy forced it to. But every time it recovered the ball, it tried to come out with determination, with quick passes, with courage, and with a conviction that surprised even those who expected a more one-sided match. Argentina struck first and seemed to settle the night. The goal gave it calm, allowed it to manage the tempo, and forced Cape Verde to open up a little more. But that is where one of the great virtues of the Cape Verdean team appeared. It never broke emotionally. Even when Argentina found spaces and hurt them again, Cape Verde kept competing as if the match were still tied. The final 3-2 speaks of the smallest of margins. It speaks of an Argentina team that had the necessary cutting edge in the key moments, but also of a Cape Verde side that reached the final stretch with the real feeling that it could force something historic. Every loose ball was played as if it were the last. Every clearance was celebrated. Every attack created enormous tension. And every passing minute brought the African team closer to that objective, which, for much of the match, stopped seeming impossible, taking the world champion to penalties. Argentina ended up qualifying, but it did so with its pulse racing. It moved on, but also with the recognition that it had faced a brave, uncomfortable, and tremendously proud opponent. Cape Verde was eliminated, yes, but it left standing tall. It left with its head held high. It left after forcing one of the most powerful national teams on the planet to play with maximum concentration until the very last second. And that is why, after the match, the words of Cape Verde's coach did not sound like an excuse. They sounded like pain, pride, and a difficult-to-explain mix of sadness over the elimination and satisfaction from having competed as equals against the world champion. Cape Verde's head coach was clear when speaking about what he felt as soon as the match ended. He did not want to take credit away from Argentina. He did not want to create an empty controversy, but he did admit that, for him, the elimination left an extremely bitter taste. "It feels unfair to me," he would have said with a tired expression, still overcome by the emotion of the match. Not unfair because Argentina didn't deserve to win, because Argentina has extraordinary players and knew how to take advantage of its moments. But unfair because of how it happened, because of how close we were, because of the effort my players made, because we came so close to taking this match to penalties. That was, perhaps, the phrase that best summed up Cape Verde's feeling. It was not about denying Argentina's hierarchy. It was not about saying the result made no sense. It was about accepting that in such an emotionally even match, one decided by details, going out by such a small margin hurts much more. The coach insisted that his team had arrived at the match with a very clear idea, to compete as if it were a final, and not as a cliché, not as the usual speech repeated before big matches. For Cape Verde, it really was. It was a final because of the history, because of the context, because of the opponent, and because of what it meant to be in a World Cup knockout stage against Argentina. "We lived this match like a true final," he explained. "For our country, for our people, for everyone who dreamed of seeing Cape Verde on a stage like this was not just another match. We knew Argentina was in front of us. We knew Messi was in front of us. We knew we were facing a world champion. But we also knew we had a unique opportunity to show who we are." And that is exactly what Cape Verde did. It showed identity. It showed character. It showed a kind of courage that is not always seen in teams that face world powers. Many national teams in a similar situation would have taken shelter inside their own box from the first minute, simply hoping not to suffer a blowout. Cape Verde instead chose to compete. The head coach especially valued that decision. For him, the pride did not come only from the close scoreline, but from the way his players stuck to the plan even when the match became an uphill battle. "I am proud of my team," he emphasized. "Proud of every player, every effort, every run, every duel won, every moment when it seemed like Argentina could break us and we responded. That is not trained only with tactics. That comes from the heart, from conviction, and from self-respect." In his analysis, the coach also highlighted that Cape Verde knew how to suffer without losing its head. Because facing Argentina means accepting that there will be moments when you cannot have the ball. Moments when Messi, De Paul, Julian, Enzo, or any Argentine player can accelerate and change the rhythm of the match in a single play. According to the head coach, the key was not to panic. "Against Argentina, if you panic, you are lost," he explained. "If you press without order, they break you. If you defend too deep without personality, they pin you against your own goal." We tried to find a balance. There were moments when we did it very well, and there were moments when Argentina punished us. That is the difference in these matches. They do not need 10 chances to hurt you. But even while recognizing that difference in hierarchy, the coach was left with the feeling that Cape Verde had enough arguments to stretch the night all the way to a penalty shootout. And that is where another one of his strongest reflections appeared. The idea that if the match had reached penalties, the story could have been completely different. "We were missing very little." "Very little," he repeated. "And when you are so close to penalties in a match like this, it hurts. Because in penalties, everything changes. There, history does not matter as much, nor the ranking, nor the size of the country. There, mentality matters, character matters, the moment matters. And I felt my players were ready for that moment." That phrase reflects the deepest emotional point of the elimination. Cape Verde did not leave with the feeling of having been outplayed from start to finish. It left with the feeling that the miracle had been inches away, that it had been one ball, one decision, one better executed play away from dragging the world champion into a much more uncertain territory. The head coach was also asked whether this could be considered the best match of the round of 32, and far from dodging the question, he answered confidently. "For me, yes. For me, it was the best match of the round of 32, he said. "I do not say that only because my team played in it. I say it because it had everything. It had goals, emotion, tension, quality, suffering, a giant national team like Argentina, and a team small in name but enormous in spirit that refused to give up. And that definition fits perfectly with what was seen on the field. It was a match with pure World Cup storytelling, the giant forced to win, the outsider trying to change history, the champion suffering, the humble team believing until the end, and an ending that left some breathing in relief and others crying over how close they had come. The coach, however, was very careful when speaking about Argentina. At no point did he want to turn his sadness into disrespect. On the contrary, he acknowledged that the opponent had enough quality to survive the emotional blow of seeing Cape Verde get closer on the scoreboard. "Argentina is Argentina," he stated. "They have players who understand these moments better than anyone. When the match gets heated, when the pressure appears, they have footballers who have already played finals, who have already won titles, who have already been in much heavier nights. That also counts. We played a great match, but they had that champion's calm in important moments." He also had special words for Messi, whom he described as a footballer who changes even the preparation before a match. "Preparing a match against Messi means preparing for something you can never fully control," he analyzed. "You can watch videos, you can talk to your defenders, you can close passing lanes, you can try to make him receive far from the box, but then he finds something you did not see. A pass, a pause, a movement. That is what makes him different." Even so, the coach did not want the night to be summarized only by Argentina's brilliance. For him, the most important message had to be directed at his own country. "I want our people to feel proud," he said. "I know there is sadness right now. We are sad too. But when the hours pass, when the pain passes, I think everyone will understand what this group did. We competed against the world champion. We gave them a real match. We pushed them to the limit. And that, for Cape Verde, has enormous value. Elimination hurts, but it also builds. And that is what the head coach wanted to emphasize at the end. This match, although it ended in defeat, can become a starting point, a sign that Cape Verde did not reach this stage by chance. Proof that its football can look much bigger national teams in the eye. "Today we lost, but we also earned respect," he concluded. And sometimes in football, that is the first step toward building something even bigger. Argentina moves on. Cape Verde says goodbye. But the memory of this 3-2 will remain as one of those World Cup nights that explain why this sport moves people so deeply. Because sometimes the favorite wins, yes, but the team that loses can also leave as a protagonist.